for your time. I'm so happy to be finally having this talk. I'm really super excited about this because I believe that creation and creativity is such an important topic. It's so relevant in this specific time that we're living in. So, and you seems like the perfect person to go to discuss on it. So, welcome again, and
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for your time. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do before we begin?
All right. Thank you so much, Jane, for having me. It's a real honor to be here. I love what you do. I love the impact you're making. The AI is interacting with different people from all over the world. So my name is Tionga. That's how you pronounce it. But Tio is what most people call me. And I'm from Zambia. I was born and raised in Zambia, and then moved for school to China. I was there for about 4 years. Then moved to the US for some work and other things, and then relocated back to Zambia last year, actually December. And right now I'm working at an animal welfare organization in Lusaka, Zambia, where we rescue dogs and cats around Lusaka, train them, rehabilitate them, give them medical aid, and yeah, just help the community in that way. Another thing I'm big on is music, and the music you can hear in the background is the playlist I created some time back. So I'm happy to be here and happy to speak to your audience and to you as well.
Thank you. That is awesome. And thank you so much for putting your music on because I was, seeing some of the videos from your LinkedIn feed, Instagram feed. I'm sorry. And I really liked this one specific video a lot where you were playing to someone else's video. And I think this is a really good form of sharing your creativity with the world these days. I look at it as a collaboration, although it necessarily doesn't mean that you know that person or you have to be physically be there in that same space. So, can you tell us a little bit about your music, how it all started, and your passion for creating music and playing it and sharing with the world?
Well, thank you for that question. So I grew up in a household where my dad was big on music. He loved singing, and so it always came natural to me to get into the singing side of things. But I didn't know anyone who was into music at the time. So I would just sing with friends, listen to music, and then sing along. Over time, the passion grew, and then at some point, my family relocated to Ethiopia, where I was able to interact with musicians that were actually practicing music at the time. And so that's what got me into the music side of things, as in recording music. And then later, when I moved to China for school, actually during COVID is when the music thing really kicked off. Uh, COVID came, everything was on lockdown. You know, a lot of people were finding stuff to do to kind of keep busy, to keep ourselves sane, and just with a little bit of hope. And so I found this app on my phone called GarageBand. Uh, it's on the iPhone. At the
Oh.
time, I was playing guitar, so I thought it was a guitar tuner. So I opened this app to try and tune my guitar, and I find a whole music studio within this one app. And so I started playing with it over time, practicing and trying new things, and then eventually went into the music production side of things. And so that's kind of the journey. So from the time I was a kid, I was always singing, and then eventually led into the producing, the production side of things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And as we can hear, it sounds very, very professional. And I believe every one of us. So you gave us the example of, being locked down during the COVID, period. But everybody kind of gets to revisit their creative side whenever they get the opportunity to, right? I think it's a very fortunate opportunity for us to have, some time and spend some time creating things and share it with other people. I think it's a very, very important, crucial part of, living as a human. And it's also, in general, much more fun creating things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your solely dedicated job or work, or on the side, you can always try to make something and be more creative, right? It's just a happier version of life, I believe personally too. So, can you share how it is working for you specifically? I believe you are busy working too. I know that you're a very caring person, taking care of, I know the passion for your, taking care of other beings, including dogs and cats, as you mentioned briefly. So, how do you find time to dedicate some of your creation work? And how would you recommend us to do a little bit more of it?
hmm I think that's a very good question, by the way. I think when you prioritize your gifts and talents, it's very easy to find time to do it. Obviously, when everyone is busy with different tasks and responsibilities, uh, I've always found myself looking for excuses not to do the creative side of things. I'm
We
busy,
all
I
do.
don't really have time, I'm tired, right? And so once I started realizing the power of it and how much I missed it, because when I started working, uh, the I found less time to do it because I'll get home really tired. These feelings are real. But when I hadn't done it for a long time, I started to miss it and to listen. I always listen to. I love listening to music and music from all over the world. And so when I would listen to these people creating, it kind of inspired me to tap into that side again. And so I think prioritizing, finding time to do it. You don't have to do it for an hour. You don't have to do it for 2 hours. But even 30 minutes, 15 minutes, just getting back into it, trying new things, and the consistency. Ed Sheeran, I believe, once said, when talking about his creative side of things, uh, he compared it to an old tap. When you open an old tap, the water that comes out first is dirty and rusty. But the more you keep it on, the clearer the water becomes, the cleaner it becomes. And so the idea is to keep creating, and over time, the creativity is going to get better. You're going to do it more quicker. If it took you, like in my case, if it took me 5 hours to create one song, the more I do it, the more I create a system around it, it starts becoming shorter. Maybe I'll be making it in 2 hours now, or maybe in 1 hour, 30 minutes, or whatever it is. And so, really finding the time and being intentional about it, taking the time to putting aside the time to create the things you love to do. Because I believe life is fuller when you're doing what you love. You don't have to do it as a full-time job. I know, a lot of people preach that side of things, and that's amazing if you can do it that way. But that's not the reality for everyone. Some people don't really have the opportunity to do what they love full-time. I think if you can dedicate the time to do it, plan ahead if that's what it takes. I think that's one of the things that has worked for me personally. Yeah. So
That
really
is amazing.
prioritizing and taking the time to do it and being intentional.
Of course, definitely. And, being intentional and dedicating, even if it's a portion of your day or week, it matters. As you mentioned, it
Yeah.
keeps going, keeps moving, it gets better with the time, as we can hear. And I even think I heard saxophone being played.
Yes.
Was it you
Yes.
played?
No, no, no. So a lot of the stuff I do is samples, or I'll get someone else to play some of the instruments. And so my
Oh,
main instrument is the guitar, uh, right behind
oh,
me. That's my
wow.
best friend. So actually got me into the music production side of things. So I'll play mostly the guitar, but then get other people to play other instruments.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you have a band.
No, no, just friends who are creative. So I like working with creatives. People that are good at what they do in different areas, and kind of picking. from their wisdom and from their talents. I feel when we work together, stuff is personally it always sounds better when I get input from other people.
Do you at least set the
Yeah.
time to get together, or how does it really work?
Yeah, so the beauty about it now is we live in a world with internet, and you can someone can be all the way in Korea, in Japan, in the US, and you can still work together. You can still collaborate because of that freedom we have with the internet. So it depends. Some cases I work with people that are far away from where I am. Other times I work with people that are close by, that we can always uh, meet up and do music together. So I have a little studio where I am right now, and that's where I invite some creatives to play from if they're locally based in Zambia.
Wow, I
Yeah.
love it. You even have a studio, and I think it's a good thing because, physical space reminds you sort of to dedicate some of your time and just, not to lose touch of the things that you love. So thank you so much again, for sharing some of your ideas or some of your ways to do, pursue your passion. And let's
Yeah.
get back to your work, taking care of dogs and cats. Can you share a little bit about that part of your life too? Because aside from being creative, it's also important to take care of each other, right? And what you do really inspired me a lot. I got to see some of your pictures regarding your work, and some of the messages really resonated with me, and I believe with many other a lot. So can you share a little bit about what you do as, taking care of others?
Sure, sure. So I'll take you back a bit to where it all began. I've always been someone I grew up in a family where we kept dogs as kids. Cats, not so much. They weren't really my thing at the time. But I didn't really have anything against them. I was just really big on dogs. And so we had dogs growing up. And then eventually, when we left the country, um, I was able to see how well people treated dogs in these other places. For example, in the US, the laws are very strict, so people are more, uh, what's the word, more intentional and careful about how they treat and take care of their animals. Uh, when in other countries, you find they're even more they're treated more like family members, you know. Whereas in Zambia, they're mostly treated as guard dogs, or uh, just as dogs. And so that way they're treated in many cases horribly and often neglected because they're just meant to serve a certain purpose. Uh, and so when I went to college, I always loved dogs, but I studied politics. International politics is actually my major. And so I've always wanted to help people in that regard. I've always loved uh, people. I think as people, there's a lot we can contribute to the world. And, the more conversations we have, the more solutions we bring to the world we live in. And so after moving back to Zambia and seeing the state of many dogs in Zambia, this urge to help people with the new knowledge I had gained from interacting with different people and working with dogs that belong to friends, uh, I was able to, uh, the desire in me to want to help people with this knowledge better take care of their pets grew. And so when I came, the organization I work for, the Cactus Foundation, was one of the few organizations that is doing a lot in the animal welfare space. And so that's how I kind of got into this work that I'm doing now. We currently have about 300 dogs under our care.
Oh.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of dogs, a lot of cats, and that speaks a lot to the problem we have in Zambia because a lot of these are neglected, abandoned, and ill-treated. So it's a big work that we're doing, and I'm really grateful to be a part of something that's impactful. Yeah.
Wow. So, like, became one of my role models about living a good
Ah,
life. because you
Thank you
are
so much.
dedicating your time and work and life to some of very, very, very important things. And I, so, you briefly mentioned before we began this talk that today would be your work day normally, but you took some time off for this. So I really want to say thank you again. And I was curious to hear whether you would have anything to, because the other element I was very curious to hear is you are very interested in empowering others, especially the next generation. So, me mentioning the word role model was not a coincidence, I believe, because I now see that you're purposeful. You have this purpose to inspire and empower others, especially the younger people, to give them sort of ideas about living a responsible life and taking care of better care of maybe other beings, including animals, right? So how did you get interested in empowering others?
Mm. Uh, that's a good question. I think so. Growing up, it was I had people that I looked up to, just in different fields. Um, but then I wasn't really able to do things that I was interested in, as because of the general culture here in Zambia is one where everyone does the orthodox thing. So doctor, lawyer, these are the careers everyone wants to go into. And so with the power of the internet, YouTube, and things like that, I was seeing many people my age and younger that were actually impacting people doing things they love. And so this kind of inspired me to go the route of speaking to younger people, teaching them different things that I'm learning. Not areas where I don't come from a place where I'm an expert in some of these things, but the little knowledge I have, I want to share with people. And so through the many conversations I would have with friends, with people that were older than me that would speak into my life, in their respective areas, coupled with the power of the internet and seeing people in other cultures doing things differently, that kind of inspired me to want to speak to people and share different ideas. And I think also the power of traveling to different places opens your mind a lot because you interact with people that are doing different things, live a totally different life from what you're used to. And having those conversations, ideas grow, and you're able to impact people, in different ways, whether it's career wise, whether it's through just your life in general, whether it's through stories of your past and what you've grown up knowing, learning from them, and vice versa. And so, having these conversations, I'm someone who's big on deep conversations. I'm not a fan of small talk generally, and so like having deep conversations kind of inspires me to. I learn a lot from people, and I also love to share what I've learned from people. So that's where the whole role model uh, thing comes from. I'm
Mm,
still learning in the journey, and I'm also trying to share what I've learned.
mm. I believe there must be many, many people who would be inspired and empowered by you at this right moment. So thank you so much for sharing what you do and your work and everything else. So my last question would be, where can we find your music? Where would you recommend us to, connect with you further?
So my stuff is on Instagram, like Jane mentioned, YouTube. I created a page recently, and then SoundCloud is where this is playing from, and the name is Engineered by Tio. Uh, the name that's right here on the screen. So Engineered by Tio is where you'll find most of the stuff, and I'll probably leave it in the comments just for anyone who might want to click if that's okay, Jane.
Oh, sure, sure. My last question, actually, it just came up to me, if that's okay with you. I wanted to
Absolutely.
hear a little bit more about where you get inspirations specifically for your music, because the music being played right now, they're very unique. At least they don't sound like some pop music that I am normally used to. So I think it's a very important color that you have over there as a musician. It really is differentiated from any other music. And we are about to discover more about it from your YouTube channel and Instagram, of course. But you mentioned that you got some ideas or inspirations or influence when you were in Ethiopia as a younger kid, right? So, how much influence did that have to your music that you're doing right now? And you've been traveling a lot of different cities and different countries. And how do you see they impacted your music as a creator?
Mm. Actually, they impacted my music a lot. So Ethiopia was kind of just the opening, the door that opened to the creative inspirations I got. So there I firsthand interacted with people that were doing music, and they have a very different style of music. They have a different scale, the pentatonic scale. They have a different. They invented a totally different one, and so they have a very unique taste. The traveling kind of just opened my mind. So one thing I like to do is, and I'll also ask you, uh, every time I speak to someone from a different culture, I ask them to share music that inspires them, because I believe when I'm listening to music from all over the world, there's sounds I've never heard before. There's styles I've never really uh, delved into or been exposed to. And so I ask people that I interact with to share music that inspires them, and I kind of use that. So I'll listen to Russian music,
Oh,
Korean music, uh, music from all over the world, and I just find that really inspiring, and that's what kind of builds my creative catalog. I like to be different. I don't like to think in a particular way. I try to tap from all over and
mm.
create my own thing out of it.
So
Yeah.
it's really a unique combination of what you've been inspired by. And
Yes.
I believe you were at one point in South Korea traveling too, right?
Yes.
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 Can you
Yes.
tell us a
Yes.
little bit about
I
it
was there
and what
for
music you
6
liked
months.
specifically?
I love Korea. Just
Oh,
first off, like
thank you.
there's so many cafes all over the place, and I'm a coffee person, So Korea is one place I'd advise or encourage anyone to visit. So I was there on a special mission. I went to see someone, and so it was a good time there, 3 months. And the music that inspired me there was just the general K-pop, old folk Korean music. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but I really loved the music and just the culture in general. Very, at least the people I interacted with were very friendly, very intentional in different ways, very artistic, fashionable. So Korea was a big fresh of uh, breath of fresh air to me. So
Oh,
yeah, Korea is amazing. I'll definitely want to come back sometime.
okay. I really look forward to your coming back sometime. And
Yeah, yeah.
yes, thank you so much again for your beautiful, wonderful life journey that you shared with us. And I really look forward to seeing more of it going forward and listening to more of your music. So thank you for this wonderful talk
Thank you,
again.
Jade. Thank you. Thank you as well. I look forward to listening to your interviews and more of the conversations you have. I think one of them that recently stood out to me was the gentleman from is it Saint Lucia or Saint Vincent? I think one.
Samuel,
Uh, Dino was his name. I think Dino or something like that. Was it
oh,
Samuel?
Samuel,
He
yes, he was the empathetic developer who was sharing
no, no,
about
no.
his
The
purposeful journey.
Yes, no, no, no. I think it was a different gentleman. I can't remember the name, but it was really impactful. I think he was talking about how one of the things he talked about was how he's a career coach or something like that, a life
Oh,
coach.
the coach, the next
Yes,
generation.
yes, yes.
Yes,
Next
yes.
generation
He
coach.
was the
I
right
think a lot of the
before.
things.
Yes. And he's
Yes, yes. So
currently living in China. So you guys must be
no
connected.
way.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That
Or
is awesome.
yes, if you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
yet connected, I believe he's a wonderful person to connect with also. And I
Yes.
discover a lot of people these days are, planning to be based in Asia, which is a wonderful thing for
Yeah.
me to, see. So I really look
Mm-hmm.
forward to seeing you over here in my part of the world someday if you are to
Mm-hmm.
travel again. And I was going to say, yeah, I was going to say something which I forgot. Oh, I remembered. Can I call you Tio now? So can
Yeah,
we
yeah.
call
Of
you
course. Of
Tio?
course.
Should we call you?
Yes.
Okay. So
Tio is perfect. That's what everyone calls me. So yeah,
okay, I'll
Tio is good.
describe you as Tio in my message for this talk. And thank you again for this wonderful time. Have a great
Thank you,
weekend.
Jane. It's been awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
And thank you
Happy
for the
New
work
Year.
you're doing. I'm really inspired by you and the conversations you have.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll see you around and talk soon. Bye bye.
All right, Jane. Bye